These are the moments where the supporting actor didn't just steal the scene, they stole the entire film, the awards conversation, and in some cases, the career. Number 10. Alan Rickman versus Kevin Costner. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, 1991. The director told him he could do whatever he wanted. That was the biggest mistake anyone made on that production. Rickman took that freedom and used it as a weapon, pointed directly at the man whose name was above the title. He didn't tell Costner what he was planning. He didn't warn the crew. He simply showed up every day and made a choice. He was going to be so wildly, dangerously entertaining that nobody would be able to look at anything else. And it worked. Completely. Ruthlessly. Costner stood opposite him in scene after scene with his flat American accent and his carefully maintained jawline and contributed nothing that anyone remembers. Not one line, not one moment. Critics didn't compare them as lead and supporting actor. They compared them as a film and an interruption. And every time Rickman appeared, the interruption was the only thing worth watching. The Sheriff of Nottingham became iconic. Robin Hood became a punchline. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, Kevin Costner's status as the biggest star in Hollywood quietly began to unravel. Rickman did that, with permission,
folded neatly in his footlocker. You were leaving for one day. You packed a bag and made 3 phone calls. Santiago.
Number 9. Jack Nicholson versus Tom Cruise. A Few Good Men, 1992. 15 minutes. That's all he needed. Tom Cruise had spent months preparing for this film. Training, researching, obsessing over every detail of his performance. Nicholson showed up, worked for less than a week, and left having made Cruise's entire preparation feel completely pointless. The courtroom scene is the moment. Cruise does everything right. His timing is perfect, his physicality is controlled, his delivery is exactly what the scene requires, and none of it matters. Because Nicholson opens his mouth, and the temperature in the room drops 20 degrees, and suddenly, there is only one person on screen. Test audiences applauded. Not the hero, the villain. Cruise has made over 40 films since. He is one of the greatest movie stars who has ever lived. And he has never, not once, delivered a line that people quote as frequently as one Nicholson threw at him in a film where Cruise was supposed to be winning. You can't handle the truth. Cruise was standing right there when it happened. He couldn't do a thing about it.
I don't know. I couldn't say. Call it. Call it.
Number 8. Javier Bardem versus Josh Brolin and Tommy Lee Jones. No Country for Old Men, 2007. 2 of Hollywood's most respected actors. One completely unknown Spaniard with a bowl cut and a cattle gun. The result was not close. Bardem walked onto an American film set for the first time in a major role, and immediately made both established stars feel like they were in the wrong movie. There is a scene early in the film where Bardem's Anton Chigurh sits across from a gas station attendant and asks him to call a coin toss. The attendant doesn't know what he's calling for. Neither does the audience. And in that uncertainty, in those 3 minutes of Bardem doing almost nothing, you feel something that Josh Brolin and Tommy Lee Jones, with all their combined experience and craft, never once produced in the film. Pure, skin-crawling dread. Brolin was nominated for an Academy Award for a different film that year. Jones had won one before. Bardem collected his for this film and thanked the Coen brothers in Spanish because he was so overwhelmed he forgot which country he was in. That is what a performance does when it is operating at a level nobody expected.
He may be in one spot or several.
Number 7. Heath Ledger versus Christian Bale. The Dark Knight, 2008. Christian Bale found out what Ledger was doing on set and went home that night genuinely scared. Not for his safety, but for his career. Because he understood in that moment that he was no longer the most important person in his own film. Ledger had locked himself away for 6 weeks before shooting. No visitors, no phone, just a journal written entirely in the Joker's handwriting, filled with thoughts and images that Ledger later said he couldn't fully explain even to himself. When he showed up on set, nobody knew how to react. There is footage from behind the scenes where you can see Bale watching Ledger between takes with an expression that is not admiration. Is the face of a man realizing that something has happened that he cannot control and cannot compete with. Ledger died before the film was released. He never saw the audiences sit in complete silence during his scenes, afraid to breathe. He never heard the cinemas erupt when his name appeared on the Oscar nominations. He never knew what he had done. Christian Bale was Batman. Heath Ledger made Batman irrelevant. And Bale has spent every interview since trying to find the right words for what it felt like to watch it happen in real time on his own set.
I don't see anything at this time standing in the way of his graduating with his class.
Number 6. Viola Davis versus Meryl Streep. Doubt, 2008. Meryl Streep had been nominated for the Academy Award 15 times. She was the most decorated actress alive. She had spent months preparing her role and arrived on set as the undisputed center of the film. Then, Viola Davis showed up for one afternoon, filmed one scene, and left. And Streep walked over to the crew afterward and said it was the finest acting she had ever witnessed opposite her in 40 years of filmmaking. One afternoon, one scene, 12 minutes of screen time, against a 2-hour film built around someone else entirely. Davis didn't out-prepare Streep, she didn't out-technique her. She simply arrived with something so raw, so completely undefended, that the camera couldn't look anywhere else. Critics who had come to review Streep left writing about Davis. Awards bodies who had planned to celebrate the leads found themselves debating a performance that technically qualified as supporting. Davis was nominated for the Academy Award. She lost. The decision is still argued about today. Streep has spoken about that afternoon more times than she can count. She has never found words she thinks are sufficient. Some performances don't have sufficient words. Before we continue, which of these has shocked you the most so far? Did you ever watch one of these films and feel the imbalance without being able to name it? Drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from.
They're not gone. They're here.
They're mine.
Number 5. Ralph Fiennes versus Liam Neeson. Schindler's List, 1993. Spielberg built one of the most important films ever made around Liam Neeson's performance. He spent years casting it, months shooting it, and produced something that changed what cinema was capable of. And then, Ralph Fiennes arrived and quietly, methodically, made himself the thing people remember most. Neeson is extraordinary in this film. That needs to be said clearly. His Oscar Schindler is one of the finest lead performances of the decade, and it still wasn't enough. Fiennes playing Amon Goeth found something inside the monster that was more disturbing than the monster itself. A man who commits atrocities with the same casual ease that other men eat breakfast. Spielberg reportedly had to stop filming multiple times because crew members couldn't continue watching. Not because it was difficult material, because Fiennes was so disturbingly convincing that the set felt unsafe. Neeson carried the film, Fiennes haunts it. 30 years later, when people close their eyes and picture Schindler's List, it is almost always the same face they see. It is not the lead actors.
What do you mean the way I talk? What?
It's just, you know, you're just funny. It's funny, you know, the way you tell the story and everything.
Funny how? I mean, what's funny about it?
Number 4. Joe Pesci versus Ray Liotta. Goodfellas, 1990. He didn't tell anyone what he was going to do. He walked into the scene, looked across the table at Ray Liotta, and said 4 words that nobody in the room had been warned about. And Ray Liotta's face, in real time, on camera, with no opportunity to recover, did exactly what any person's face would do when they genuinely don't know if the man sitting opposite them is about to become violent. That is what you are watching in the funny how scene, not acting, not technique, a man responding honestly to something he didn't see coming. Pesci had heard the story from a real mobster. He told Scorsese he wanted to try something, and walked in without briefing his castmates. The discomfort on Liotta's face is not a performance choice, it is confusion, and it became one of the most celebrated moments in the history of American cinema. Liotta was the lead of Goodfellas, his face was on the poster, he narrated every scene, he was not nominated for the Academy Award. Pesci won it, gave the shortest acceptance speech in Oscar history, and walked off the stage in under 40 seconds. He had nothing left to prove.
Look in your cheap shoes. You look like a rube. A well-scrubbed, hustling rube with a little tape.
Number 3. Anthony Hopkins versus Jodie Foster. The Silence of the Lambs, 1991. 16 minutes. That is how much screen time he had. And he won Best Actor. Not Best Supporting Actor, Best Actor. For 16 minutes of work against a lead performance that was in every scene of a 2-hour film. Let that land for a moment. Because what it means is that the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, the most established film institution in the world, looked at Jodie Foster's complete, extraordinary 2-hour performance and at Anthony Hopkins' 16 minutes across 5 scenes and decided they were equal achievements, deserving equal recognition. They were right. That is the most devastating possible verdict on what happened in that film. Foster is sensational in The Silence of the Lambs. Genuinely, undeniably, historically sensational. And Hopkins made 16 minutes feel longer, more complete, and more unforgettable than her entire film. He ate with a census taker's liver and some fava beans and a nice Chianti, and you will never forget it. Foster carried the film. Hopkins owned it. There is a difference, and everyone in Hollywood knows what it costs.
It's a name that stuck.
Well, you do have to admit, it is catchy.
Number 2. Christoph Waltz versus Brad Pitt, Inglourious Bastards, 2009. Tarantino had been trying to cast the opening scene of this film for years. Every major actor in Hollywood had read for it. Nobody could make it work. Then an Austrian television actor nobody in America had heard of walked into the audition, sat down, and within 5 minutes, Tarantino stood up and said the film could finally be made. What Waltz does in that farmhouse scene, switching between 4 languages mid-sentence, building unbearable tension out of perfect manners, making a glass of milk feel like a death sentence, is the kind of thing that gets taught in film schools for decades. Brad Pitt is funny, charismatic, and completely committed in every scene he's in. And in every scene Waltz is in, Brad Pitt does not exist. He simply stops registering. The audience's entire nervous system redirects toward the man with the perfect smile and the quietly horrifying eyes. Waltz won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. Then, Tarantino cast him again, then he won it again. 2 Oscars for 2 Tarantino films. Brad Pitt has appeared in 2 Tarantino films and has never been nominated for either of them. He was the star of one. He knows what happened.
You remind me of my father. I hated my father.
Okay, stop.
Number 1, Heath Ledger. And this time, the humiliation never stopped. He didn't just humiliate Christian Bale. He humiliated every actor who has tried to play the Joker in the 16 years since. He humiliated studios. He humiliated franchises. He created a problem so large that an entire cinematic universe has been quietly reorganizing itself around it for over a decade. And nobody has found a solution because there isn't one. You cannot solve Heath Ledger, you can only survive him. Joaquin Phoenix spent 2 years preparing his version of the Joker, lost 52 pounds, and delivered what many critics called a masterpiece. The first sentence of almost every review contained the word Ledger. That was the ceiling. That was as good as it could possibly be described. Better than everything except one thing, by one person who died before he knew what he had done. Jared Leto went further into character preparation than almost any actor in recent memory, sent his castmates disturbing gifts, refused to break character for months, and delivered a performance so completely overshadowed by what came before it that the studio quietly cut most of his scenes from the final film rather than draw the comparison. He later said he felt like the rug had been pulled from under him. The rug was pulled in 2008 and it has never been put back. Directors keep trying to make Joker films, actors keep agreeing to play him, and every single time, the first question at every press conference, in every review, in every audience member's mind as the credits roll is the same one. It is not about the performance they just watched. It is about one they saw 16 years ago, given by a man who never knew the answer to the question he left behind. How do you follow that? You don't. You live underneath it. And the franchise, all of it, every film, every iteration, every brave attempt, is still down there.